The world's last remaining male white rhino has died. Nigerian health officials are working hard to spread the word about Lassa fever. And a Togo techie produces a 3D printer as innovation booms. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Animal lovers worldwide are mourning the death of the world's last male northern white rhino, according to the Kenyan Conservancy caring for the animal. That leaves only 2 females of its subspecies alive in the world. We get more in this Reuters report by Scarlett Chivatonovich.
The world's last male northern white rhino has died, leaving only 2 females of the subspecies alive. The Kenyan Conservancy taking care of the rhino, named Sudan, said the 45-year-old was euthanized after a rapid deterioration in an age-related condition led to changes in his muscles and bones and extensive skin wounds. While there are thousands of southern white rhinos still roaming the plains of sub-Saharan Africa, rampant poaching drastically cut the numbers of northern whites. Poachers can sell northern white rhino horns for $50,000 per kilo, making them more valuable than gold or cocaine. Sudan made headlines last year when conservationists put him on dating app Tinder, hoping to raise enough money for a $9 million fertility treatment, as all attempts to get him to mate naturally had failed. However, the fundraising effort fell well short of its target. There is still a chance the northern white rhino will be revived, though. A copy of Sudan's genetic material was taken on the day of his death, in the hope that future technology will bring the species back from extinction.
Well, the African Union is holding a summit in Rwanda on the African Continental Free Trade Area. The Free Trade Area is one of the flagship projects of the AU's Agenda 2063 and aims to deepen the integration process by allowing Africans to trade and move freely across the continent. The Kigali summit was agreed to during an assembly of the AU held in Addis Ababa in late January 2018. Rwandan President Paul Kagame, who also took over as chair of the African Union, pledged to achieve free movement of persons this year. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari opted out of the Kigali conference on Sunday, saying he wanted further domestic consultation on the continental deal, after media reports said Nigerian labor unions warned against the deal. Now, for insight on the African Union Summit, Ibrahima Kane, African Union Advocacy Director at the Open Society Foundation, joins me live via Skype from Dakar, Senegal. Good evening, Ibrahima.
Good evening.
Now, first, if we may start with the fact that the president of Nigeria kind of opted out of this meeting because there seems to be not enough information to some labor unions. What does this tell us about this agreement for many across the continent? Do they know what it is?
Well, I think they know what it is. Nigeria participated in many meetings prior to this summit, and they know what the document is about. They know why we are doing all this work, and I think what happened at the last minute is just some effort at the national level to make sure that any deal Nigeria enter in should also take into consideration the reality of Nigeria. For me, it proves that this document is taken seriously by Nigerians, and the day they will put their signature on the document will mean they will be implementing it. This has never happened before for Nigeria, and I think it's time that this process is a very serious one.
Now, here we're talking about 53 different countries signing a document to enable trade in an area that has perhaps a gross domestic product of up to $3.3 trillion. How realistic is it that it can function in 55 countries?
Well, when you look at it in that way, yes, it's a problem. It's problematic. But when you look at it in another way, you will see that we don't have any choice. but to really come into this agreement. I just give you 3 figures. One is intra-African trade is just 16% of each African state, which is really terrible, because if we want to develop our continent, if we want to increase jobs for young people, we need to develop intra-African trade. In Europe, for instance, is 70% of the trade done in Europe are done by European countries themselves. You know, the US is 54%. Even Asia, which is the latest zone that come into this kind of agreement, is 51. African is lagging behind. Now, the second element that I can give you is also the part of Africa in the trade worldwide, 3%. Only 3% of the trade done worldwide comes from Africa.
You know, Ibrahim, this is, I mean, it sounds really good that we need to bump up that trade at the trade level, but the reality is about the regulatory framework. Across the 55 countries, we're talking about tariffs, we're talking about non-tariff obstacles, surcharges, duties. How do you streamline that across all these borders?
Well, on the continent, you know, the strategy put forward by the AU gives an important role to what we call regional economic communities. For instance, I'm from West Africa. The main regional economic community in West Africa is the Economic Community of West African States, namely ECOWAS. And ECOWAS, since 3 years, is really trying to coordinate the effort of the 15 countries that compose the institution to really try to find their way to better develop intra-regional trade. You know, and one important aspect of that trade is the currency. So far, we have 8 West African countries that uses the same currency, the CFA, the former colony of France, and we have 7 other that have their own currencies.
Talk about
the last 2,
yes.
Yeah, the last 2 years, all the countries together were trying to find a deadline after which they will have one only currency in West Africa. And so the last meeting held 2 months ago in Accra talked about 2022. And 2022 is at the corner.
Now, so give us the best case scenario of having this liberalized market across the continent. Best case scenario.
Yes, you know, the best case scenario is that at least we get 50% of African trade going into Africa. That first. 2, making sure that we have, through that process, we create new infrastructure, we develop free movement of people, because you need to read this effort with other effort done by the AU. Just in January, AU adopted a protocol on the free movement of persons in Africa. Now, and the idea of all of that is that we get all Africans get the visa on arrival in the 55 African countries, which is not a very easy task, but they're doing it. And also, they decided at the same summit that now for transport, particularly transport by air, we will have a free African transport. Any company, airline, can set up any routes on the continent. I think those, if we put all those together, it will really facilitate intra-African trade and intra-Africa, because mobility comes with goods.
Indeed.
You know, and if Africans are able to work around the continent, to do their business around the continent, you know, I think that will really help the continent to improve its economy.
Yeah, we all look forward to this. Thank you very much for your insights, Ibrahim. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, Ibrahim Kane is the African Union Advocacy Director at the Open Society Foundation. Now, turning to the horrible crime of sex trafficking, the kidnapping of girls and boys to force them to perform sex for money is on the rise. Here in the United States, the National Human Trafficking Hotlines get an average of 20 new cases each day. Some law enforcement agencies are fighting the scourge in a different way. In part 2 of her 3-part series, viewers Caroline Presutti takes us along on an FBI and Maryland State Police operation that focuses on rescuing the victims instead of arresting their pimps.
Chris Hyde's day starts here, shopping for sex with underage girls.
You want to try this one?
Hyde and another officer are on a website called Backpage, a photo gallery of females categorized by location. Think of it as an online store for sex. Corporal Hyde punches in a phone number and makes a date.
Hey, how are you? I was calling to see if you had any time available.
She says it's $150 for an hour. Hyde suggests something else.
I usually say a short stay, which is 15 minutes, and she said yes, that would be $80. So we agreed to that.
The girl texts him her address, and he's off. Hyde is with the Maryland State Police Child Recovery Unit. He pulls up to a hotel near the Baltimore airport. 2 undercover FBI agents join him on the 4th floor to meet the girl. Becky was sex trafficked as a teenager by a woman she met at a bus stop. The woman's pimp sold her. She says she's been stabbed, robbed, raped, and threatened with a gun to her head.
There was one time I was on the hotel floor and he beat me so hard I couldn't even work for like the next 5 days.
Now she's on her own as an adult prostitute. Her phone rings during the interview with men wanting to make dates for sex. They saw Becky's ad on the website Backpage using technology that leaves no trace of transactions.
It's easy. They don't take credit cards no more. Now it's like all through Bitcoin.
Becky sorts through her requests and picks which ones she'll answer. I ask why she chose the officer posing as a customer.
He didn't have any bad reviews on his number. We use an app called Mr. Number.
Prostitutes rate men and share the information through the app, especially if they were violent or didn't pay. Becky is not arrested because the sting is to rescue underage girls. Nightfall sets in. Police make one last date.
Did you call this one?
They drive to a hotel that's under renovation. Undercover detectives are in 2 other cars. It might be dangerous, and they need to stay alert.
You got a guy walking up to your right. I'll stay on the phone with you, but I'm going to walk in.
After 90 minutes, Corporal Hyde returns. He says they found a 15-year-old from California being trafficked by her 23-year-old sister. The next day, the older sister is in jail, charged with sex trafficking of a minor. The teen is on a plane back home.
If we can get a girl to quit doing that and get her life back together, that's what, in our opinion, that's what makes it worthwhile for us.
Tonight's rescue is the 40th underage girl Corporal Hyde has saved, but there are more like her. Carolyn Presutti, VOA News, Baltimore, Maryland.
Well, in the final installment of her 3-part series, Caroline Presutti shows us the prevention and treatment programs available to minors to help them recover from sex trafficking. Now, we're always thrilled when you reach out to us on social media and let us know what you think about the stories we cover. So today, we'll profile some of your comments. Africa 54's Zoe Ludaki has more. As we commemorate International Women's Day on Thursday.
During International Women's Day, we explored the challenges girls face in Africa. Jean-Pierre Muneshiaka congratulated us. Very nice conversation on this special Women's Day, he wrote. Isadou Jalon pointed out the injustices. She said, when a girl gets pregnant, they throw her out of school and she's never accepted back. Also, when a husband dies, his brother takes over his property and the wife has no say. That has to change. We also reported on South Africa marking a century from Mandela's birth in 1918. Faule Atolugum writes, 100 years of Madiba. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Your legacy lives on.
Now on this International Women's Day,
In health, we focused on pregnant Ghanaian women who insist on taking pills to lighten the skin of their unborn child. Salifia Nimbrom from Kasama in Zambia was shocked. She said, that's too extreme. Your child may love to maintain its natural skin color.
No more silence!
We also reported on the thousands of high school students in various parts of the United States that walked out of school to protest gun violence. One of the signs read "Books, not bullets." And Franklin Paye from Liberia agrees. Exactly, he writes, books, not bullets. Iwarigo Joseph is surprised. If you try this in Nigeria, you're finished. Straight to prison, he writes.
Thank you, Zoe, and thank you for your comments, and keep them coming. This time we have a question for you. We're asking, what are the challenges African girls face in your country? Go to Facebook at voaafrica.com. Use the hashtag AfricanGirlsRights and tell us what you think. Or just send me a tweet at VOA Vince McCory. Now coming up, an outbreak of Lassa fever in Nigeria hits crisis levels. Stay with us.
This is a country that I chose to become a citizen. I didn't have to become a citizen. I chose to become a citizen.
I feel like America gave me an opportunity to pursue my passion as an artist.
I really believe that clean eating is a way to a more successful life, or a happier life, if you want to put it that way.
One of the things that helps me wake up every morning is doing better, being better.
We grew up poor, and so I'm always focused on helping the working class be able to have a more comfortable lifestyle.
I'm passionate about doing justice every day. I oftentimes say that justice is a verb, not a noun. You know, I believe in action and moving the ball forward.
Well, it's time now for a health report, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Madu with a look at the possibility of an ATM machine for prescriptions. Lino.
That's right, Vincent. What if filling a prescription was as easy as withdrawing money from an ATM? A South African company is attempting to make that a reality. Meet the Pharmacy Dispensing Unit, or PDU. The groundbreaking South African innovation allows patients with chronic illnesses to receive repeat medication within 3 minutes. The dispensing unit works like an ATM for medication with Skype-like audiovisual interaction between patient and pharmacists and robotic technology to dispense medication. It is the first of its kind on the African continent and was launched by the Gauteng Department of Health in partnership with Right to Care and Right ePharmacy. The company plans to roll out PDUs in shopping malls and centers close to public clinics.
Now they can be able to go to work every day. They won't be able to miss their jobs. They can just come here in the morning, get their medication quickly, and then go to work.
The facility is at no cost to the patient. So government has partnered with us and are supporting the access to medicine.
Now to Zimbabwe, where doctors working in public hospitals have gone on strike demanding better pay and working conditions. The doctors say hospitals lack drugs and essential supplies as well as equipment. Junior doctors in Harare went on strike on March 1st, and as of Monday, the labor action had spread to include all public hospitals in the country, according to Zimbabwe's hospital doctors. The association says the government had not, as agreed 4 years ago, increased on-call allowances for doctors to $10 an hour from the current $1.50 and has failed to fulfill other promises for better compensation and working conditions. Meanwhile, patients have been left under the care of nurses who say they are overwhelmed.
This situation is not new, but is a result of a collapsed health system. So I think our government should merely focus its attention on the country's health delivery system, because that's where life is.
Health Minister David Parirenyatwa says the government is working to resolve some of the grievances by the doctors and is urging them to return to work. Now, Nigerian health officials are fanning out through communities to inform and educate residents about Lassa fever. The deadly viral hemorrhagic illness has killed over 100 people this year in the West African nation.
Nigeria's Center for Disease Control, local authorities and the World Health Organization are raising awareness among locals in Edo State about Lassa fever. The country is battling an outbreak of the disease that has killed at least 110 people this year. The Lassa virus is transmitted mainly to humans through contact with food contaminated with rodent urine or excrement. To fight off the disease, community members are being advised to regularly wash their hands, store food in containers with lids, and to keep their homes clean and tidy to keep away rats and vermin.
We find out that if we are able to take these messages to the grassroots, we will be able to interrupt this outbreak. And so every community leader is here now. Every town announcer is here. We expect every town announcer to go back to each settlement, each community, to take this message back.
The symptoms of Lassa include fever and headaches. Healthcare workers are being trained in standard infection control and prevention. However, the WHO says a number of them have become infected, some have died. Over 350 confirmed cases of Lassa fever have been identified in Nigeria.
If contact tracing is not done, people stay in their homes, they become symptomatic, they are positive, they die in their homes, and they infect more people, thereby making the outbreak bigger and bigger. So stopping the outbreak becomes a problem if contact tracing is not well done.
The World Health Organization says the disease is endemic in other West African countries, including Ghana, Guinea, and Togo.
And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch for more, find me on Twitter @Lenore Moudou. Back to you, Vincent.
Well, Lenore, thank you very much. Now be sure to watch Lenore Moudou's health reports every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Africa 54. And it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. A Togo inventor's big Mars dream. We'll be back in a moment.
How do you see the world?
I see countries in turmoil.
I see our planet changing.
I see people at peace.
No matter how you see the world, you'll get an unbiased and uncensored view of it on Voice of America. On television, radio, online, and mobile, in more than 40 languages all day, every day. Millions of people tune us in.
How do I see the world? On Voice of America.
Welcome back to Africa 54, and here's what's trending. Now, tucked away in a workshop in the Togo capital, Lomé, Afate Noku is adjusting a piece of technology that is made from scratch. This is a 3D printer which lifts designs off a computer and prints physical objects. Noku has put months of work into making the experimental device. Afate has named the printer Wafate, a play on his own first name. The printer project was a winner in a NASA-sponsored space apps contest in Paris early this year. He hopes it can one day be used to help construct houses on planet Mars. But he knows he has ways to go yet. Next up, chocolatiers across Beverly Hills and Hollywood are gearing up for Easter with their latest high-end creations. To meet the demand of customers with high standards, luxury chocolatiers are preparing a variety of Easter delights, including 18-karat gold bunnies to Jackson Pollock-inspired eggs. Now, the market research agency Statistics says that increased consumption from India, China, and Asia-Pacific countries is driving the industry as those consumers grow more accustomed to Western tastes, along with a belief in the health benefits of eating dark chocolate. The appetite for chocolate has been growing so much that analysts predict a 30% increase in global cocoa demand by 2020. And finally, were you ever told don't play with your food? Ukrainian food artist Dryran Kosa didn't follow that order, and her fans couldn't be happier. She applauds her creations for her tens of thousands of Instagram followers to enjoy. Her edible portraits cover breakfast, lunch, and dinner meals, and of course dessert too. And that's what's trending today. Now, our next story reveals one woman's artistic effort to bring lasting peace and better understanding between Israelis and Palestinians, Jews and Muslims. Here's Africa 54's Paul Cisco.
The mosaic at the center of the exhibit is vibrant, full of motion, and can be appreciated for all its surface beauty alone. Judge for yourselves. Beauty is, after all, in the eye of the beholder.
Our group is called JAMART, which stands for Jews and Muslims Making Art Together.
It's part of an exhibit underway at the Jewish Community Center near Washington, D.C. Betsy Nahum Miller, a dual Israeli-American citizen, conceived of the collaboration that brings like-minded Jewish and Muslim artists together for a purpose.
That whole wall in the back, it's collaborative in the sense that we all decided what we wanted it to be, and that we would each do our own piece, and whatever expression of freedom, justice, and equality each individual artist wanted to make, they had the opportunity to do it, and it was going to go on that wall.
The mosaic is called From Many One, those of the artists of JAMART. It expresses, they hope, universal aspirations for harmony. That's for you to judge. As crystals sparkle, stitches weave, and paint pours out in colors deep, so shines a world's universal need for justice and freedom to never sleep.
The main statement that all of us wanted to make is that in this country, we have rights, and we have freedom, we have equality. It's all there on paper, it's all an ideal, and we're very grateful for these rights. We're very grateful that we still are able to exercise our free speech in an exhibit like this, because we are pointing out how the rights are being limited.
She says their artwork celebrates the basic human ideals of freedom, justice, and equality. Some came to the theme in their art through faith, spirituality, others through intellectual thought. Regardless of how they came together, the Jewish and Muslim artists in this show believe the role of the artist is to spark change and bring light to dark times. Through the power of friendship, community, faith and love, and hope, they say their art provides the light and inspiration to stand up for our universal freedoms, rights, and for the dignity of all people.
We are all one. Well, and that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings today Break Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. From all of us in Washington, have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Woodwork is any part of a house or building that is made of wood.
Crawl out of the woodwork.
This expression sounds troubling.
I won! I have the winning lottery ticket.
Well, that's great. How much money did you win?
I won $25,000. But please, don't tell anyone.